Hello everyone. I'm E from Susan's family. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to make this rolling into Ruyi pillowcase. It consists of a front piece, back piece, edging, tassels, decorations, and pearl buttons. We'll crochet the front piece first. Then crochet the back piece and join it to the front one. After that, edge these two pieces. Next, make the tassels and decorations. Finally, secure the decorations and pearl buttons. First, let's learn how to crochet the front piece. There are 2 steps: crocheting the motifs and joining them together. It consists of 9 identical motifs. We'll begin with the first one. For the other ones, join each as you work the last round. They all start with a magic ring and are crocheted in rounds counterclockwise. You'll need to switch colors during the process. The stitches used include chain, double crochet, slip stitch, half double crochet, and single crochet. Now, let me show you the specific steps to make it easier to see. I will use this yarn for the demonstration. The color is random. For the specific yarns, color schemes, and hook size, please refer to the product details page or the pattern chart. First, begin with a double magic ring. Pick up the yarn tail with your right hand. Wrap it twice around your left index finger. There are now 3 loops. Use your right thumb and index finger to pinch where the loops overlap. Remove the loops. Then wrap the yarn around your left little finger. Thread it through between your middle finger and index finger. Pinch the loops with your left middle finger and thumb. Hold the crochet hook like a pen. Pinch the handle with your right thumb and index finger. Rest it on your webbing. With the tip of the hook faces you. Rest your right middle finger lightly on the hook. As you crochet, it can press down the loops on the hook and the hanging yarn, so you can adjust the loops more easily. Here, for more clarity, I won't press down the yarn while crocheting. Insert the hook into the loops. Position it to the left of the yarn. Wrap the yarn counterclockwise. Draw it through. There is now 1 loop on the hook. Chain 1 to secure. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through the loop. This is a chain stitch. Pull it tight. We've finished the double magic ring. Next, crochet the first round. Chain 3 as the turning chains for the double crochet. One, 2, 3. These 3 chains count as 1 double crochet. The front of a chain is a V-shaped loop. A, V, represents 1 stitch. Then make a double crochet, yarn over, insert into the magic ring, yarn over, draw the yarn through. There are 3 loops on the hook now. Yarn over, draw through the first 2 loops. 2 loops remain on the hook. Yarn over again. Draw through at once. A double crochet is complete. The braid at the top right is its stitch. Place a marker here. If you don't have a stitch marker, you can use a paperclip or a pin instead. Work another double crochet. Yarn over. Insert the hook. Yarn over, draw the yarn through. Yarn over, draw through the first 2 loops. Repeat twice. 1, 2. The second double crochet is done. We'll consider the turning chains and 2 double crochets as a leaf. Note that this leaf is the first one of this round, so it is special. From now on, we'll consider 3 double crochets as a leaf. Chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Move on to the second leaf. Work 3 double crochets. The second leaf is complete. Then chain 3. Continue with the third leaf. After that, chain 3. Crochet the fourth leaf. If there isn't enough space, you can move the crocheted stitches to the right and continue. Finally, chain 3. Close the ring. There are 2 loops. Pull the yarn tail gently. There's 1 loop moving. Pull the moving loop. One loop remains. Pull the yarn tail tight. Now we've closed the ring. Then join with a slip stitch to the marked stitch. Pick up these 2 strands. Draw the yarn through. And draw through all the loops on the hook. The slip stitch is done. It doesn't count as a stitch. For the next round, we need to switch the color. First, fasten off the yarn. Chain 1 to secure, leaving a little yarn tail. Cut the yarn. Pull it tight. The right side texture is clear, while the wrong side texture is blurred. When crocheting, keep the right side facing you. You can weave in the yarn tail on the wrong side. Now the tail has been woven in. Or you can weave in a few more times. Then trim the excess. The beginning yarn tail can also be dealt with like this. Whenever you need to weave in the tail later, you can refer to this method. That completes the first round. Now crochet round 2. Take the corresponding color of yarn. Hang it with your left hand. Leave about 5 centimeters of tail. Tie a knot. Join the yarn in the chain space to the right of the slip stitch. Draw through. Place the knot to the wrong side. The yarn has been attached. Make 3 turning chains. Work a double crochet in the chain space. You can place the yarn tail above the hook to weave it in as you crochet. Place a marker in the first double crochet. Work another double crochet. The first leaf is complete. Chain 1. Work a leaf in the left space. Then, chain 3. Work another leaf in the same space. We'll consider these 2 leaves and the 3 chains between. As a corner, chain 1. Work a corner in the next space. So, you'll be working 1 leaf first. Then chain 3. Work 1 more leaf. The second corner is complete. Work the other ones the same way. The last leaf should be worked into the space where you attach the yarn. Chain 3. Join with a slip stitch in the marked stitch. Yarn over and draw through. Draw through the loop on the hook. The slip stitch is done. Tighten it. Chain 1 and fasten off the yarn. Tighten it. The last corner is complete. Weave in the end. The starting yarn tail has already been woven partially. You can weave in more before cutting it off. That completes round 2. Move on to round 3. Take the yarn. Join it in the chain space to the right of the slip stitch. Then crochet a leaf. If you can find the first double crochet stitch of each round, you won't need to place a marker then. Weave in the end as you crochet. Then, chain 1. Crochet a leaf in the next chain space. From now on, in the spaces of 3 chains, you'll be working a corner. And in the spaces of 1 chain, a leaf. Chain 1 on either side of the leaf. Crochet all the way to the last leaf. Once completed, chain 1. Work a half double crochet. Yarn over. Insert into the first double crochet stitch. Draw the yarn through. There are 3 loops on the hook now. Yarn over again. Draw through all the loops on the hook in one go. A half double crochet is done. This is the post of it. You don't need to switch the color for the next few rounds. That completes the 3rd round. Then we'll work the 4th round. Start with a leaf. The 2 double crochets should be worked around the post of the half double crochet. Then, chain 1. Continue crocheting leaves and chains. For this round, you'll be working a corner in corner spaces and 1 leaf in middle spaces. Chain 1 on either side of the leaf. Continue crocheting in this way. After finishing the last leaf in corner spaces, chain 1. Then work a half double crochet in the first double crochet stitch. I'll demonstrate it again. Yarn over. Insert the hook and draw through. Yarn over again. Draw through at once. A half double crochet is complete. There, we've finished round 4. For the remaining rounds, you'll be working a corner in corner spaces, a leaf in the spaces between corners, and a chain on either side of the leaf. Note that as the rounds grow, the number of individual leaves will increase. At the end of round 5, join with a half double crochet. The end of round 6 is the same as round 2. After chaining 3, make a slip stitch in the first double crochet. Fasten off. For round 7, we'll change the color. Refer to the chart to complete the last leaf of round 7. Now I've completed it. Then chain 2. At the end, join with a single crochet. Insert into the first double crochet stitch. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. Draw through at once. The single crochet is done. Then, measure the size to compare with that indicated in the chart. If there is a great difference, you can adjust your tension and rework. That completes the 7th round. Now let's start the 8th round. Chain 5 first. Make a slip stitch in the left chain space. Chain 5 again. Make a slip stitch in the next space. Continue making a slip stitch in each space. And 5 chains on both sides of it. Crochet until you reach the first corner on the left. Now it comes to here. We've completed one side. Then work a corner. In the corner space, make a slip stitch. Five chains. And a slip stitch. This completes a corner. Whenever you reach a corner space, crochet a corner in the same way. Between the corners, crochet an edge. Work your way to the last corner. Now it comes to here. Make a slip stitch. And 5 chains. Finally, in the single crochet stitch of the previous round, make a slip stitch. Chain 1 to secure. Fasten off the yarn. Weave in the end. This completes the 8th round of the first motif. Next, we'll join the motifs. Work from left to right. The first motif is at the lower left corner. For the other ones, join them to the crocheted ones. As you work the 8th round, there are a total of 9 motifs. Arrange them 3 motifs per row, for a total of 3 rows. Join them into a square. There are 2 situations. Joining one side and joining 2 sides. I'll demonstrate the method with 4 motifs as an example. First, number them separately. From left to right. 1, 2. And from the bottom upward. 3, 4. Now I'll show you how to connect motif 2 with motif 1. You can join any side of motif 2 with one side of motif 1. First, follow the method for the 8th round of motif 1 to complete the first side of motif 2. Once done, start the joining. Connect the 2 adjacent corners and the side between of motif 2 to the corresponding positions on motif 1. Start by connecting the corners. Make a slip stitch in the space. Chain 2. Then take motif 1. Hold 2 motifs with the wrong sides together. Insert the hook into the space on motif 1 and make a slip stitch. Then, chain 2. In the space of motif 2, make a slip stitch. Now we've joined the corners together. It's like replacing the 5 chains with slip stitches to connect them. After that, connect the sides. Chain 2 first. Slip stitch into the chain space on the left side of motif 1. Chain 2 again. Slip stitch into the chain space of motif 2. This connects one chain space with another. Let me do this again. Chain 2 first. Insert into the chain space on the left side of motif 1. Make 1 slip stitch. Chain 2. Slip stitch into the chain space of motif 2. The method is similar to the technique used in the 8th round. We just replace the 5 chains between and the chains in the middle with slip stitches to connect 2 motifs. Crochet in this way until you reach the left corner. Now it comes to this corner. Make a slip stitch. Then chain 2. Slip stitch into the corner space of motif 1. After that, chain 2. Slip stitch, slip stitch. This completes the connection of these corners. And we've joined this side. Crochet round with the method for the 8th round. Finally, slip stitch into the single crochet of the previous round. Chain 1 to secure. Fasten off. Weave in the yarn tails. Now we've joined motif 2 with motif 1. All motifs horizontally are connected using this method of joining one side to one side. Next, we'll connect the first motif in the second row. That is, motif 3 in the sample. We need to join one of its sides to the top side of motif 1. Now, let me show you. First, follow the technique for the 8th round. To crochet the first side, now it comes to the first corner. Join it with the upper left corner of motif 1. Then, with the previous joining method, connect these two motifs together. Now it comes to this corner. The joining method here is slightly different. First, slip stitch into the corner space of motif 3. Then, chain 2. Next, insert into the joining position of motif 1 and motif 2, picking up 2 strands of the slip stitch. Make a slip stitch. After that, chain 2. Slip stitch into the corner space of motif 3. Now we've joined this corner. And there, the connection between motif 3 and motif 1 is complete. For the start of each row afterward, connect in this way. Continue to crochet the 8th round of motif 3. This is how motif 3 looks after joining. Next, we'll connect motif 4. We need to join two adjacent sides. With this vertical side of motif 3 and the horizontal side of motif 2. Now, let me show you. Crochet the first side of motif 4. I've now completed it. It comes to the first corner. Join with the corresponding corner of motif 3. Using the previous method to complete the connection for this side. Now it comes to the second corner. Slip stitch. Chain 2. Then, in the joining position of motif 1, motif 2 and motif 3, pick up 2 strands and work a slip stitch. That completes the connection. Continue joining these two sides and the next corners. We've joined these two sides. Continue working on the remaining part of round 8 for motif 4. This is how motif 4 looks after joining. When connecting two sides of a motif later, you can refer to this method. The explanation for connecting motifs is now done. Next, crochet the back piece. The method is the same as for the front motifs. You'll be crocheting a corner at the corners, a leaf in the chain spaces, and a chain on both sides of the leaf. Note that color changes are required during crocheting. When you need to change the color for the next round, end the current round by slip stitching in the first double crochet, then join the new yarn and continue crocheting when you don't need to change the color, and by joining in the first double crochet with a half double crochet. Then continue crocheting. As the rounds increase, the number of individual leaves will also increase. Note that the ending of the back piece and the motif of the front piece are the same. They all require 2 chains and a single crochet to connect. After completing the rounds indicated in the pattern chart, you can compare it with the front piece. It should not exceed the front piece. If there's a significant size difference between them, you'll need to adjust your tension and rework a few rounds. For the last round of the back piece, you need to join it to the front one as you crochet. Keep crocheting this way until the last round. That completes the instructions for the back piece. Next, we'll connect the back piece to the front piece. They are fully joined along 3 sides. The other one is only joined at the left and right sections, leaving an opening in the middle. First, mark the opening spot with stitch markers. You can adjust the size of the opening according to your preference. Now let me show you the specific steps. Since the sample has fewer rounds, I'll just demonstrate the method. Now it comes to the last round. Let's join the first side. Chain 5. Take the front piece, align the wrong side with the back piece. Insert into the chain space on the left side of the back piece, and the corresponding space on the front piece. Make a slip stitch. Then chain 5. Again, slip stitch into the chain space on the left side of the back piece, and the corresponding position on the front piece. Let me demonstrate again. Insert into the chain spaces on both the back and front pieces. Make a slip stitch. Chain 5. Continue connecting with this method. Now we're at the joining position of the front motifs. In these 3 slip stitch points, join with a slip stitch. Now we've connected with the first joining position. Then continue working. When you reach the next joining position, in these two slip stitch points, join with a slip stitch. Now the second joining position has been connected. Continue joining following the chart until you reach the first corner. I've reached the corner of the sample. Chain 5 first. Then insert into the corner spaces of the back piece and the front motif. Make a slip stitch. The corner has been joined. And we've complete the joining of the first side. Connect all the sides to be fully joined in this way. Next, start joining the third side. I'll only show you the method with this sample. First, match up as before. And join up to the first stitch marker. Mind that the opening position is needed to be joined to the front piece. The slip stitch is worked into the back piece only. Chain 5 on either side of the slip stitch. Continue working up to the second stitch marker. I've reached the second marker spot. Continue joining the back piece with the front piece. The third side has now been joined. Keep going with the fourth side. Joining up to the last corner of the back piece. There's one last slip stitch. Work it into the last single crochet of the back piece and the corresponding position on the front motif. Chain 1. Fasten off. Weave in the yarn tails. Now, we've joined two pieces together. Next, let's crochet the edging. Work the edging along the sides of two pieces. Back and forth. We'll use a new stitch technique. Picket of 3 chains. Now, let me show you the specific steps. Take the corresponding yarn. For more clarity, I'll use a different color of yarn. Find any corner of the back piece. Join the yarn in the 5th chain space on the left. Make a beginning chain. Then work 4 single crochets. In the next space, work 2 single crochets. Then chain 4. Turn the work. Counting from the left in the 3rd single crochet, make a slip stitch. Pull it tight. Make a beginning chain. Turn the work. In the space of the 4 chains, work 2 single crochets. Then crochet a picket of 3 chains. Chain 3 first. Then insert into the front loop of the single crochet stitch. And the strand below. Work a slip stitch. Pull it tight. Atch 3 picket is complete. Next, make 2 single crochets in the space. Then work a CH3 picket. I'll refer to this as the picket from now on. Let me demonstrate again. Chain 3 first. Then insert into the front loop of the single crochet stitch. And the strand below. Work a slip stitch. The second picket is now complete. Continue, in this space, work 2 single crochets. A CH3 picket. and 1 more single crochet. Finally, work 2 single crochets in the chain space below. This completes a pattern of the edging. Now crochet the pattern again. Work 4 single crochets in the left space. And 2 single crochets in the next space. Chain 4. Turn your work. Slip stitch into the third single crochet to the left. Make a beginning chain. Turn your work. In the space of the 4 chains, work 2 single crochets, and a picot for 3 times. Then work a single crochet. Finally, work 2 single crochets in the space below. This completes the second pattern group. Follow this method to complete this round. After completing the last pattern group, join with a slip stitch in the first single crochet. Pull it tight. Chain 1, then fasten off. Weave in the yarn tail. Edge the front piece in the same way. Complete it on your own. This concludes the explanation for the edging. Then let's make the tassels. A tassel consists of purl, tassel cap, and tassel strands. We'll crochet the tassel cap first, then make the tassel strands. Finally, assemble them. To crochet the tassel cap, we'll start with a magic ring. Then crochet in rounds counterclockwise. While crocheting, we need to change colors. New stitch techniques are X stitch single crochet and X stitch SC 2 in 1. Now, let me show you. Take out the yarn, leaving a 15 cm yarn tail. Make a double magic ring. Next, make a beginning chain. Then start the first round of X-stitch single crochet. First, insert into the magic ring. Place the hook above the yarn. Yarn under. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over. And draw the yarn through 2 loops. A X-stitch single crochet is complete. Place a stitch marker. Then work another X-stitch single crochet, insert into the ring. Place the hook above the yarn. Yarn under and draw through. Yarn over and draw through the loops at once. The second X-stitch single crochet is done. Then work 4 more into the ring. Leave the reserved tail on the right side. Then tighten the ring. Leave the tail outside the fabric. Then slip stitch into the first stitch. Tighten. To avoid crocheting extra stitches later. That completes the first round. Now move on the second round. Make a beginning chain. Then work a X-stitch SC 2 in 1. That's 2 X-stitch single crochets in the same stitch. One. 2. A X-stitch SC 2 in 1 is complete. Mark the first stitch. Then, in each stitch from the previous round, work a X-stitch SC 2 in 1. Finish with a slip stitch in the first stitch. Tighten. The second round is complete. Continue with the third round. Make a beginning chain. Then, in each stitch of the third round, make a X-stitch single crochet. Crocheting evenly like this will cause the fabric to naturally curl. Adjust to make the right side facing outwards. Finish with a slip stitch in the first stitch. The third round is complete. Let's take a look at the finished product. The fourth and fifth rounds are crocheted in the same way as the third round. Note that you need to change the color for the sixth round. Follow the chart to finish round 5. I've already worked the last stitch. Then, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Tighten. Chain 1 and then fasten off the yarn. Next, take the new yarn. Join it. Work a beginning chain. Then work X stitch single crochets evenly. You can place the tails on the hook to weave them in as you crochet. After weaving in a few stitches, trim them. Continue crocheting. The next round also requires a color change. You can do it according to the demonstration here. Complete these 2 rounds on your own. After completing the last single crochet of the 6th round, do not slip stitch. Directly draw through the yarn tail and cut it. Draw the yarn through the first single crochet stitch. Then draw through the middle of the last single crochet stitch. This completes the fastening off. Finally, tie off on the wrong side. Then weave in along the grain. This completes a tassel cap. Next, make the tassel strands. Refer to the quantity in the pattern. To cut yarn pieces, I've already done. Remove any one piece. Lay it vertically across the center of the yarn pieces. Then fold the pieces in half. Make a double knot to secure it. Next, wrap around the pieces. Make a double knot to secure. This completes the tassel strands. Next, attach the tassel to the cushion cover. Prepare a purl, a tassel cap and tassel strands. Then start assembling. Use a beading needle to thread the yarn end through the purl. Next, find the edge of a corner in the cushion cover. You can see at the four corners, there's still one chain space that hasn't been connected. Insert. Then go back through the purl. Take a sewing needle. Stuff the strands into the tassel cap. Then thread the yarn through the starting ring of the tassel cap. Next, sew the strands and the tassel cap together, following the texture of the single crochets, back and forth. Finally, tie off inside the tassel cap. Now we've secured the tassel. The strands can be trimmed neatly with scissors. Now we've complete the work of the strands. Assemble the remaining 3 tassels in the same way. That concludes the part of the tassels. Then we'll make the decorations. Each motif on the front piece has a group of decorations sewn on. A group consists of 4 rayas. There's also a group sewn onto the back piece. Start with a foundation chain. Once all completed, sew them onto the corresponding positions, forming the shape of Ruyi. Now, let me show you. Take out the yarn. First, hang the yarn with your left hand. Hold the hook with your right hand. Place it under the yarn. Wrap the yarn counterclockwise. Draw the yarn through. The slip knot does not count as a stitch. Slightly tighten. Then, keep chaining. Until you work the required number of stitches. Then, draw the yarn through. Fasten off. Sew the chain decorations onto the motif. Find any corner of the fourth round of a motif. Draw the decoration through these two adjacent double crochets. This divides the decoration into two halves, left and right. With the right side of the chain facing outwards, place the right half over the left half. Position both halves correctly. Find the corner of the fifth round. Weave in the yarn tails into these two double crochets. Cut a 20 cm piece of the yarn. Gently pinch it with your left hand. Separate a strand with your right hand. Then thread it through the sewing needle. Stitch a few times along the position decoration to secure it. At last, tie off to secure. Weave in the yarn tail on the wrong side. Secure the remaining 3 decorations to the motifs with the same method. That completes the explanation for one decoration. You can complete the remaining ones on your own. That completes the part of the decorations. Finally, sew the pearl buttons onto the opening position of the front piece. A total of 3 buttons are sewn evenly along the edging. The position of the buttons can be decided according to your preference. Now, let me show you. Cut a 20 cm piece of yarn. Separate 2 strands. Thread through the needle. Find the middle of the opening on the front piece. Insert the needle. Make a knot to secure it. Then thread through the pearl button. Stitch back and forth a few times. To secure it onto the front piece. Finish with a knot. That secures one button in place. The remaining 2 buttons are secured using the same method. Complete this yourself. You can use the gaps between double crochets of a leaf as buttonholes. This way, the pearl buttons won't come off easily. That completes the explanation for the pearl buttons. Up to this point, we've completed the cushion cover. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website, Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.